So this clip is from the Bernie's Back rally from a few weeks ago in Queens, New York City. And damn, is it a good clip? And damn, was it a good rally? It was huge. I think it broke the record for the largest rally of this election season. Warren previously had it, I think, at like 20,000 maybe, and Trump had a little bit above that. But I feel like Bernie also had. I mean, obviously, when he first announced his campaign officially in Brooklyn, and subsequent rallies, and now today with rallies again in New York City with AOC, in Detroit with Rashida Tlaib, and a few days ago with Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis. But with this one, they actually had to turn people away from the park that they were holding the rally. They had to turn people away from a park because there were so many people. That's insane. But anyway, the speaker here is Nina Turner, who is great. If you don't know her, you probably do. But she is a super amazing speaker, amazing orator, super inspirational, and can really get you riled up. And she's been a Bernie surrogate since 2016. I think 2015. In 2015, she first endorsed Hillary Clinton, but then she quickly flipped on that and endorsed Bernie Sanders, and since then has become one of his strongest supporters. She runs Our Revolution, previously run by Jeff Weaver, who was the campaign manager for Bernie Sanders in 2016. But she's great. She's amazing. Some people float her as a potential VP, which would be amazing. Formerly, she was an Ohio state senator and ran for the governor's race in Ohio a few years back, but obviously she didn't make it. But still, she's huge. She's great. And this speech, I don't even know if she prepares this, but this clip shows Nina Turner kind of digging in to Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden also. The Joe Biden part is a little less important, but the Elizabeth Warren part is huge. So let's see if you can pick it out.
There are some people who sat on the sideline when it was hard. There was only one person who stood up to the establishment, and his name is Bernard Sanders. So, we got a lot of copies. There's only one candidate in 2016 who told the multi-millionaires and billionaires in this country, keep your money, I'll raise my money with the people. There's only one candidate who's been marching with the working class people, not because he's running for president, but because it's right. Hello, Marriott workers. Hello, Amazon workers. Hello, Verizon workers. Hello, teachers. Come on, somebody. And I don't know about you, but I hail from a tradition that says that you will know the tree by the fruit that it bears, and Senator Bernie Sanders bears good fruit. So there are many copies. People want to talk about a framework. People who stand up in other folks' living rooms and say to them, multi-millionaires and billionaires, and nothing will fundamentally change for you. Well, Queens, I got a message. If nothing fundamentally changes for multi-millionaires and billionaires, then nothing fundamentally changes for you and you and you and you. We finally have somebody in our lifetime who will be unflinching. That his only special interests are sisters and brothers in Queens. His only special interests are sisters and brothers in Denmark, South Carolina. His only special interests, hello, Flint, Michigan. His only special interests are the people of this great nation. So, yeah, there are many copies, but there is only one original. I don't know why you would take the copy, baby, when you can have have the original. He didn't vote to give President Trump more money for wars. Hello, somebody. He voted against these rotten trade deals that steal wealth from our community.
So 2 of those things called out Joe Biden, if I counted correctly. One, Joe Biden supported many of the trade deals that were pushed by third-way Democrats and also Republicans in the 90s and early 2000s when he was a senator. And he also famously said that to a bunch of donors, I think, that nothing will fundamentally change for them. And those donors, of course, were millionaires and billionaires. His base, you could say. But most of that was targeted at quote-unquote somebody. I don't know if you heard her, but she said, come on, somebody. She said that over and over. It was awesome. She's been tweeting it too. I'll put those up right now. That somebody is Elizabeth Warren. So when she said in 2016 there were a lot of people on the sidelines and Bernie Sanders was the only one with the guts to run against Hillary Clinton, that somebody is Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren a lot of people were trying to draft Elizabeth Warren to run in 2016. Tons of progressive groups, including Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders famously went to, or not famously because it's not really covered, but he went to Elizabeth Warren, I think several times, and basically begged her to run. Why? Because Bernie didn't want to be president. He didn't think he would win, right? He wanted to shift the conversation left. And he thought, well, obviously I can't do that. I'm just a socialist senator from Vermont. Elizabeth Warren is much more popular and famous than I am. How funny is that? Just 5 years ago. So, of course, she said no. And Bernie was like, okay, it's up to me. And he did it. And he didn't think he was going to win, but he almost won. He didn't think he was going to win, and he almost won against Hillary Clinton. People always forget this. People always underestimate him. He got 45% of the vote in 2016. And people would be like, oh, wow, 45% to 55%. Wow, 10% difference. How amazing of Bernie. Yeah, kind of. Why? Because he was at a 60-point deficit at the beginning of the race, at the beginning of the primary. When Hillary first announced and when he first announced, 60-point deficit. And he totally overcame that. By the middle of the primary, he was leading her in national polling among Democrats, among primary voters. Obviously, it was too late because a lot of states had already voted by then. But if he had announced a little bit earlier, if he was a little bit more serious, if he actually tried to win, he would have won. But he didn't think he was going to win, because why would he think he was going to win? But he almost did, and that's amazing. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren was too afraid to run against Hillary Clinton, and she wanted a position in her cabinet. It came out recently that Elizabeth Warren Elizabeth Warren was approached by Hillary Clinton's people, and she was told that, oh, Hillary Clinton's looking at you for a potential VP pick. So what did that cause Elizabeth Warren to do? Definitely not run against Hillary Clinton, and definitely not endorse Bernie Sanders, which she didn't, which made the difference in Massachusetts, which could have made the difference in other states, or in the future, because of momentum and stuff like that. And then she said, people want to talk about a framework. Now, what is that referring to? Well, in an interview, Elizabeth Warren said that Medicare for All is just a framework. She said some people are saying we can ramp up to this age, we can transition from this age, we can pay for it this way, we can pay for it that way. It's not a hard set in stone policy. It's a framework that everybody's trying to work towards. It's not a framework, Liz. It's a policy that has been proposed over and over again by John Conyers in the House before, he died in 2015, by Bernie Sanders in the House over several years, by Bernie Sanders again in the Senate when he first ran in 2016, and again in the Senate now, and again in the House with Pramila Jayapal. It's a policy. It's not a framework. If she has a plan for everything, I don't know what she needs a framework for. She needs a plan, and the plan is already there, and the policy is already there, and the way to pay for it is already there. but she doesn't support that. She supports the framework. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't support Medicare for All or that she's hoodwinking everybody. It just shows that she's not serious about it. That it's just a tactic to win. Does she think people should have healthcare? Yeah, I'm sure she does. But would she fight tooth and nail and expend precious political capital to get Medicare for All in the same way Bernie Sanders would? No, not a chance. Not a chance. And then, of course, at the very end, she said Bernie Sanders has not supported, giving a bigger military to Donald Trump. Who has? Somebody. Who's somebody? Elizabeth Warren. She's voted, I think, multiple times now to increase the military budget under Donald Trump. In 2017, most recently, in 2018 as well. What is that about? What is that about? And tons of Democrats have too, by the way. The same Democrats who say, oh, Trump is insane, Trump is crazy, Trump is a foreign asset controlled by Putin and Russia. So why are you giving him? What are you giving him a bigger military for? If he's compromised by Putin, what is that about? It boggles my mind that any Democrat in the Senate, or anybody who calls themselves a Democrat in the Senate, would ever increase the military budget under Trump. But why did Elizabeth Warren do it? Well, Raytheon, one of the largest U.S. defense contractors in the country, is based where? In Massachusetts. In Waltham, to be particular. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of voters for Elizabeth Warren. And also, that's a lot of money. Because is Elizabeth Warren taking big money in this primary election? Not really. She's taking some, but not as much as others. But she does take it in her Senate races. And she has. And she did in 2018 when she ran again. So it's a political calculation. She is, at the very least, complicit in U.S. imperial aggression for the sake of political expediency and money. That's what it's about. Bernie Sanders is actually serious about an internationalist vision of American foreign policy. Not one of domination, not one of imperialization, but one of internationalism. The only one who is even close to that. And Elizabeth Warren is nowhere close on that. She is the exact same as any standard Democrat. So, this is good. This is good, because I think Nina Turner's been rearing to get this out for months now. I think a lot of people have in the campaign. But now, the campaign is trying to differentiate itself from Elizabeth Warren, and it's doing that more and more now. Because Elizabeth Warren is a serious threat, not only to Bernie Sanders' chances in the primary, but also to the movement that Bernie Sanders is building. Because Elizabeth Warren is not the movement candidate. She's not the labor candidate. She's not the working class candidate. She's the technocratic candidate that thinks change comes from the top to the bottom. That's not how change is, and it's a flawed theory of change. Has it worked in the past? Kinda. And if anybody tries to point to FDR, is it working? Socialist parties in the U.S. at that time, communist parties, unions, they all pushed FDR, first of all, to victory, and also they told him, and this is real, this is history. They told him, if you don't do something to fix this Great Depression business right now, through taxing the multi-millionaires that got us here, there will be uprisings in the street. And there would have been. The labor militant movement in the United States at that time was serious. The leftist militant movement in the United States at that time was serious. It was only exacerbating with the Great Depression. And FDR put a cog in that. Put a stop in that. So it's good that Bernie Sanders is and the campaign is finally getting a little bit aggressive and finally differentiating itself from Elizabeth Warren as opposed to calling her his friend and an ally. And she may be on some issues. But when it comes to something that's so high stakes such as this, the future of the country, and frankly, the future of the planet, and the future of the left movement that Bernie Sanders has built, and that Elizabeth Warren abandoned, and it was never a part of, by the way, they need to differentiate themselves, and they need to win, and this is how you win. Now, they need to do it more often, and more succinctly. They need to call her out by name. They need to do it. But this is a great step in the right direction.